Now I'd like to introduce you and have the privilege of welcoming onto our show Lieutenant General Shaukin Chauhan. He is a very well-known Indian Army veteran and someone who was known well to General Bipin Rawat, someone who grew up with him. They've been childhood friends, they served together, they knew each other very, very well. And Bipin Rawat is someone that Lieutenant General Chauhan counts as one of his friends. A very, very sad day, General Chauhan. Thank you for speaking to us at this difficult time. There is a sense of loss that everybody is feeling. So we can only imagine what those who knew General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Rawat well are actually feeling at this time. Your sentiments, sir. Those Tiranga draped caskets are on their way to Delhi. Your sentiments on this very, very sad day.
It is indeed extremely sad. I'm actually speaking to you via mobile, so I'm not too sure how clear I am.
We can hear you, sir.
But ever since I came to know about Bipin's death, it's been terrible. I've known Bipin literally actually since birth. We were together. Our parents were together in Dehradun. He was born a little earlier than me. But we've been very close friends, and we joined the same army. We were together at the National Defence Academy, then joined the 11 Gurkha Rifles, the same regiment, and continued our parallel careers from there. It's amazing how good, how professionally competent, and how wonderful a human being Bipin actually was. Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, too, was a wonderful person. Graceful, very down to earth, and she was actually his better half. She was such a wonderful person. We used to come home often. We shared so many moments together, so many moments of happiness together. So it's a terrible loss. It's actually a terrible loss for me, my wife, my family. It's been terrible.
What kind of legacy does he leave behind, General Chauhan? Like you said, you've seen him since, you were kids. You've seen his entire rise to the very top of the Indian military structure. We're also getting breaking news right now that the Prime Minister Modi, I'm just coming back to you, General Chauhan. We're getting breaking news right now that the Defence Minister, the Prime Minister, will be paying tribute to General Bipin Rawat and the others who lost their lives at 9 this evening. 9 p.m. is when the Prime Minister will be paying tribute, and therefore it's at 7:40 p.m. is when the mortal remains will be landing in Delhi. 9 p.m. is when the Shraddhanjali ceremony will be taking place at the Palam Air Base. So this is an update that we wanted to bring to our viewers because many of you have been asking about when the tribute ceremony will be happening. And here's that confirmation first here for you on India Today. 9 p.m. at the Palam Air Base, which is co-located with the Delhi airport, is where the Shraddhanjali ceremony led by Prime Minister Modi will take place. He will be arriving there at 9 p.m. Just about an hour after the aircraft with the bodies lands at the Palam Air Base, and that's when the saluting ceremony will take place. General Chauhan, a top-level ceremonials this evening at the Palam Air Base for General Rawat. But I wanted to bring you back to your memories of General Rawat. This is truly such a sad day. He and Mrs. Rawat have 2 daughters. They will be there at the ceremony today, as will the families of the other 11 persons who lost their lives. A very sad day, sir.
True. You were asking about
yes.
General Bipin's legacy. Well, the first legacy is, of course, the fact that he's India's first Chief of Defence Staff. It's a huge honor given to us. With General Bipin being nominated as the Chief of Defence Staff. He had a very onerous task ahead of him. He had to reorganize the defence services. He had to get them to work together. He had to break heads, literally. All I can say is that General Bipin had the heart to do it, had the capability to do it. There was just no doubting his professional capability. There was no doubting his integrity. There was no doubting his plain speaking. And that was the kind of person you actually needed. Because to break old traditions and to reform the armed forces, which is, as you know,
Yes.
one of the world's largest armed forces, with the huge number of threats that we face on a daily basis. It required a person of General Bipin's legacy or competence to actually create these, the kind of organization that he was seeking to create. So his greatest legacy would be that we reorganize ourselves and work as a single team to deal with very difficult enemies that our nation faces in the future. And it's a continuous, for India, it's a daily battlefield, and for our armed forces, it's a daily battlefield. So actually, he unfortunately left us with the work in progress, but he's given us a path to follow. And I'm hoping and I'm certain that
Yes.
the officers who now lead the army and the other defense forces carry his legacy forward.
Some memories of General Rawat, General Chauhan, of your growing up years. You must be having so many of him. What are the most memorable times that you can share with us with General Rawat? I mean, you've seen him at literally every phase of his life.
Every level, yes, we were children together. We were in the NDA together. What strikes me is that General Bipin could deal with disaster. He could deal with difficult times. Let me just give you an idea. We were traveling together. We were traveling together in Kashmir. He was commanding the Sopore Brigade, and I was commanding the Shopian Brigade, which are not that close, but close enough as far as South Kashmir is concerned. And General Bipin one day rang me up in the morning, and he says, he used to call me Kancha, that's actually younger brother, and I used to call him Dai, which is elder brother, in Nepali, because we were both from good cousin. So he says, Kancha, I'm coming to meet you. So I said, sure enough, sir, please come. So he drove, he came through an ambush, he was ambushed on the way, but that didn't stop General Bipin from actually coming over. And when he came, he just, no problem, just a couple of shots were fired at me. And we had lunch together. And, the thing was that he was continuously guiding and motivating and teaching me. And he would tell me, Kancha, do this, or this is the way we should do this. And this is how you deal with the people in Shopian. Because I had Shopian, Pulwama, Kulgam, and all these difficult areas with me. And he had Sopore. So we would share experiences. We would talk almost every day about those experiences. So what I found with General Bipin was that he was a great mentor to have, a great elder brother to have. That, that I would be. We did the staff college course together. General Bipin would be always there. He would come to me every day, or come home every day, or second day, and he'd say, Kancha, let's do this together, or let's. So the thing was that he was always with us. He was always there for any kind of advice that you needed. He would give a keen ear to a lot of issues. We grew together. We literally grew through all the ranks together. I remember we traveling together during the National Defense College course. Moment we get off somewhere, and this is a very binding memory.
Yeah.
That moment we'd get off anywhere, he'd say, Kancha, come, let's go for a walk. We may have traveled 12 hours, but General Bipin had to take a walk. It just didn't matter. He would get off the bus and he would say, come on, let's go. And we would whether it was Italy where we were visiting, or Switzerland where we visited subsequently, General Bipin had to take a walk. One day he decided that he would take me for a swim. And it was actually almost 13 degrees outside. The pool was really cold, but he said, no, we must do it. And he always did it, Yeah. So he was a great guy. And like I said, because he was so plain speaking and because he was so clear in what he was doing, General Bipin was often not liked, because he would not hesitate to call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
That was the issue with him. and that's what he always did. He told me, he said, look, I have no time for being nice. I would tell him that, look, I used to be, as you know, the ADGPI.
Yes.
And I would tell him that, look, why aren't we, you must look at this issue also. And he would say, actually, I don't have the time. I have to push and I have so much more to do. So he did. There were a lot of people who were detractors. He did have a lot of detractors, but he had a difficult job, and because of that, he is where he is. He was the right man for the job, and as I said in the beginning, he had the heart for being the first chief of defense staff.
Absolutely.
You require a very big heart to deal with whatever the enormous challenges that he had. And the other thing I always found about General Bipin was the love he had for the men. Wherever we were, and we've been together in so many places, he would make a beeline for the men. He would say, come, Kanchan, let's go. And let's go and meet the troops. And he would be with the troops. We would dance. He knew all the Nepali songs, and he was a marvelous dancer. Very infectious, enthusiastic person, and huge energy. I didn't actually know where he got the energy from. He was constantly energetic, like that energetic bunny, and he would be constantly on the go.
Yeah.
And he would walk very fast. He would put his head down and walk, much like his father used to walk. So I have so many memories. It's just so difficult to actually explain them all to you on television.
But thank you.
But
yes. Thank you for sharing them with us.
But I must say one more word.
Yes, please.
It's about the other officer, Colonel Harjinder Singh.
Yes.
You spoke about him.
Yes.
He was he was commissioned under me as a young lieutenant. He too had a great heart. He was always smiling, a wonderful officer. And Harjinder, or Harrier, we used to call him, was extremely positive. And, General Bipin he was working with General Bipin. I think we've lost some very, very great officers, fabulous guys. And I don't know what's failed me here.
General Chauhan, we share your pain, and I know this is personal for you. You knew some of these people very, very closely. Lieutenant Colonel Harjinder, General Bipin Rawat were people you knew, personally and worked with. So we can only imagine and can't really experience what you're going through. But I can tell you that an entire country shares in some way or the other the pain that you're feeling today. We've seen a national outpouring of grief in different parts of the country, from Uttarakhand, his village, to Sulur. The roads have been lined with citizens. So please do take heart. Our deepest condolences to you as well for your sense of loss. And I thank you for joining me here on India Today and sharing your emotions and our thoughts with us. Thank you, General Shaukin Chauhan, for speaking to me here on India Today. The Shraddhanjali will be taking place this evening at 9 p.m. The Prime Minister will be at the Palam Air Force Station to salute, to lay a wreath and to pay tribute to General Bipin Rawat, the man he appointed as India's first Chief of Defence Staff. 9 p.m. Our coverage will be rolling in non-stop until that time. Now I want to bring you to the other big question that's on everyone's mind. How did that helicopter crash yesterday? Before I begin to answer that question, let's first tell you that we also have this shocking 15-second video clip that was filmed by a local on the ground of the ill-fated Mi-17 V5 helicopter just moments before it crashed into that mountain in Coonoor, killing 13 of the 14 people on board. The video, which captures the final 15 seconds of that helicopter, appears to show it in control and seconds before it descended and hit the mountain. Here's more from that video.
The frightful last moments of the ill-fated chopper carrying Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat, wife Madhulika and 12 defence personnel. Caught on camera by a group of unsuspecting youngsters on ground in the Nilgiris mountains. The chopper can be seen and heard roaring overhead, with no apparent wobble and maintaining what looks like a steady course, but dangerously close to the foliage on the ground, navigating through foggy and misty skies, with apparent bad weather and low cloud cover. The youngsters can be seen stopping on the path, wondering what's going on. The video then catches a loud booming explosion sound in the background as the chopper, now not on camera, crashes into the terrain. Taken aback, the group of young residents are seen exclaiming, "Has it crashed?" The video then abruptly stops, but not before giving some important insight into what exactly went wrong seconds before the fateful mishap. Was it the bad, blinding, misty weather, which often grips these parts of Nilgiris at this time of the season?
The helicopter was definitely flying low because this area, you could see that the entire back area is completely covered in mist. Around 11 o'clock, this whole spot will be covered by mist. And generally, any kind of helicopter sortie that starts from Sulur and coming to Wellington base, they actually, from that crash point, either take a left or a right. On the left side, there is a hill that is almost twice the size of this one, which is completely covered by mist right now. And that's the only way they can go, and on the right side. But generally, they prefer the left side. And as we speak, you could see the mist is setting in over there. And this is the most kind of unfortunate part.
Did the weather cause cockpit disorientation? Or was it some sudden technical snag? The black box retrieved from the wreckage holds important clues. Bureau Report, India Today.
He was India's first Chief of Defence Staff. General Bipin Rawat served in the armed forces for over 4 decades. He was the brain behind many bold moves by the Indian forces in confronting terror and its supporters across the border. Here's a report on the enormous legacy that will now need to be taken forward. The legacy of General Bipin Rawat.
September 29, 2016. India climbs up the escalation ladder in the war on terror. The special forces of the Indian Army went across the line of control deep into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in the early hours and launched an attack on terrorist launch pads. The surgical strike in response to the terror strike in Uri stunned the world. It began a new chapter in India's security paradigm. And among the few people instrumental in the mission was General Bipin Rawat, then the Deputy Army Chief. Since then, General Rawat has made no bones about the fact that the Indian Army can go to any extent in protecting the borders.
हमारी जो सेना है, हम अमन और शांति चाहते हैं, लेकिन अमन और शांति का मकसद ये नहीं है कि हम कमजोर हैं। अगर जरूरत आई तो हम किसी भी तरह से ताकत इस्तेमाल करने में पीछे नहीं हटेंगे।
The surgical strikes laid the foundation for another retaliation 3 years later. The Indian Air Force flew deep inside Pakistani territory to bomb Jaish-e-Mohammed terror camps in Balakot. General Bipin Rawat, then the Chief of Army Staff, had his forces on high alert, ready from any blowback by the enemy. The Balakot bombing in retaliation to the Pulwama terror attack that killed 40 CRPF personnel jolted Pakistan and sent out clear message to the world. India will not tolerate terror. Under the leadership of General Rawat, the Indian Army has taken some of the most stringent steps against Pakistan. As the Army Chief, General Rawat stood up to Chinese PLA in Doklam Plateau on the India-Bhutan-China tri-junction in 2017. The stare-down lasted 73 days and ended with the Chinese withdrawing. General Rawat was aware of the multiple threats India faces on the border and warned that India must be ready for a two-front war in a worst-case scenario.
तीनों सर्विसेज जो हैं उसका 1+1+1 का जो जोड़ आता है उसको 3 नहीं बनाना है, उसको 5 या 7 बनाना है. तो यू हैव टू अचीव मोर थ्रू सिनर्जी एंड इंटीग्रेशन. ये मकसद है जो CDS को जिस तरह से टास्क दिया गया है.
The 26th Army Chief played a key role in shaping the army in other matters too. He was fundamental in restructuring the army, cutting administrative flab, reducing duplicity and increasing combat potential. The Government of India amended the army rules to extend the age of superannuation from 62 years to 65 years, paving the way for General Bipin Rawat's appointment as India's first Chief of Defence Staff. As the CDS, General Rawat ensured better coordination between the Army, Navy and Air Force. General Bipin Rawat is an illustrious career, a legacy that is immortal and indelible. Bureau Report, India Today.
The death of India's first Chief of Defence Staff in this tragic chopper crash in Tamil Nadu has left a vacuum in India's topmost military ranks. Because after all, it's the military. The show must go on. Hours after General Bipin Rawat's demise, the Cabinet Committee on Security chaired a meeting at the Prime Minister's residence on Wednesday. The forces are also analysing who will take over as the next Chief of Defence Staff in the wake of this tragedy. Before General Rawat's appointment as the CDS, it was discussed that all serving chiefs, vice chiefs and commanding-in-chief level officers of the 3 services are eligible for the top post. General Bipin Rawat was finally appointed on the basis of seniority on the 1st of January 2020. In the current ranks, Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Naravane is the senior most among the 3 current service chiefs. Army Vice Chief Lieutenant General P. Mohanty has been asked to cut short his visit to Qatar. He is the second senior most army officer after the Army Chief.